All right, welcome America, welcome Justin Bieber. Today we are going to be finding partial areas of circles, so it's an area of a sector, and we're also going to be finding part of the circumference that's called arc length. Up until now, we have been measuring arc length in degrees, right? So we would say if the measure of this central angle is 30 degrees, the measure of this arc is also 30 degrees. Now we're just going to represent it in a different way, and we're going to represent this arc as a length, which is part of the circumference. So if I can measure the circumference with a piece of string, right? It's an actual length. It's going to be a number like 7 inches or something like that. So the easiest way I think to do this is to write a proportion, because 30 degrees is part of 360, and that is the same relationship as the measure of this, or sorry, the arc length is part of the entire circumference. So what we'll do is we'll write ourselves a proportion. And on one side, and there are different ways to do proportions, but I think the easiest way to do these is to put the degrees on one side and the circumference or the area, depending on what we're doing. In this problem, we're doing circumference on the other side. So part of a whole, part of a whole. On this side, we have 30 degrees, and that's out of the whole, which is 360. So I'm going to put that on the left here. 30 degrees out of 360 degrees. That relationship is exactly the same as part of the circumference, which we don't know. That's the length of the arc. So I'm just going to put an X up there. Is to the entire circumference, which on the formula sheet, if you look at the formula sheet that we just Googled, underneath the circle, we have two circumference formulas, one with radius and one with diameter, and then area. In this problem, I believe we're given the radius. Let's see. Okay, we're given the diameter. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to cut the diameter in half to use the radius equation. It doesn't really matter if you use the diameter formula or the circumference or the radius formula, but the 2 pi r is usually the much more common one to use. So if the diameter is 28 feet, that means the radius is half of that, so it's 14. So I'm going to write down 2 pi r, and instead of putting r, I'm going to put 14. I'm substituting 14 for r. Is everybody writing this down? Okay, so 30 degrees out of 360 is the same ratio as the length of the arc is to the circumference. Now we have a proportion where we cross multiply. And divide. Now I'm going to write this out this one time, but you don't have to write this out anymore. But if I don't right now, people might have questions. So I'm just going to write it out. $30 times 2 times pi times 14 should equal 360 times x. That's this equation right here. And then we isolate x by dividing both sides by 360. So on the calculator, it's, where's my mouse? Come on, mouse. Here we go. 30 times 2 times pi times 14 divided by 360. And I am getting 7.33. Does it say how to round it? It doesn't. Maybe it does at the top, I just don't see it. Since we just found the length of this arc, and it's part of the circumference, not part of the area, that unit is going to just be feet. How are we doing? Good? Everybody excited for dress up days this week? Anyone actually wearing their favorite outfit today? On favorite outfit day? Are you guys gonna wear PJs tomorrow? At least? Yeah? Okay. Let's move on. We are going to go to slide number 30, just for the sake of my video here. Okay, the other type of problem we're going to do today is when we find part of the area of the sector. Last problem we found part of the circumference, and today we're going to find part of the area. It's called area of the sector. It's exactly the same setup. You write your proportion. 65 degrees out of 360 equals this part of the area out of the entire area of the circle. Well, we don't know this area of the sector. So that's going to be our x. Out of the entire area, which is, if you go back to the formula sheet, underneath the circle, we have the formula for area, which is pi r squared. We're going to use this formula for this type of problem. Pi r squared, not 2 pi r, because we're not doing circumference. Pi r squared, and they told us that the radius is 4. So I'm going to plug in 4 for my radius. Then I'm going to cross multiply and divide, so it'll be 65 times pi times 4 squared divided by 360. I won't write it out this time. You can write it out if you want. And I am getting the area of the sector is 9.0. I'm going to round it to an 8. Now, since this is part of the area, this is an actual area problem, the units are going to be inches squared. And the only way to make these problems a bit more complicated is that currently the unknown is the area of the sector. Sometimes they might put the unknown in a different place. So you just set up your proportion, put the information that you know in there. There should be one unknown, depending on where it is, and then you just cross multiply and divide and solve for it, depending on where that unknown is. Questions? All right, we're gonna move on, but I'm gonna stop my video. 7 minutes, not bad. All right, peace out.